Go get some coffee for me.
After returning to the head office for the first time in 10 years, I unexpectedly ran into my ex-girlfriend. She seemed to have joined the company mid-career and apparently didn't know I worked here. Back in college, I knew nothing about dating and just did whatever she said, but now I'm a 30-year-old man. Her words and actions left me stunned.
You're the kind of person who's meant to be used. Hey, maybe I should date you again. You'd be super handy as a bag carrier and errand boy. Hurry up and go buy it.
She pushed my shoulder hard. People around us were glancing over. I had no choice. While I was running errands as she told me to, a beautiful secretary passed by and dropped a shocking comment to my ex, leaving her pale-faced. Well, back in college, I really was used by her. My name is John Smith. 30 years old. The girl using me as her errand boy is Ashley Johnson, whom I asked out in high school. She was a junior in the band, and I was totally smitten with her looks. Long eyelashes, loosely curled hair, and captivating eyes. To my surprise, she agreed when I asked her out. Since she was my first girlfriend, I was over the moon. All the allowance I got from my parents went to her. I always put her first, spending money on dates and gifts. She never paid a dime on dates, so I had to be frugal. If we didn't have a proper date, she would clearly get upset. I didn't realize before dating her, but she was a bit selfish. Still, she meant a lot to me back then. I did everything she asked. Dating was tough, I thought. Despite all the effort, she broke up with me. I'll never forget it. It was on our graduation day. After the ceremony in homeroom, I was supposed to meet her at the school gate. I thought we'd talk about not being able to be together at school anymore, but as soon as I got to the gate, she broke up with me.
Let's break up.
It was so sudden, I couldn't comprehend what was happening. It sounded like a joke. I didn't understand why. Regardless of all the cherish toward her. To my astonishment, she said.
I found someone smarter and richer.
She touched a necklace. It was not the one I gave her, but a fancy branded one. Is that? I asked, but she didn't answer.
You were convenient because you always did what I said, but I'm done with you now. Bye.
And she ran towards the school building. I was left watching her back, unable to grasp the reality. Graduation day turned into a terrible memory. That frustration fueled my college life. I thought, if only I had been smarter and richer, she wouldn't have left me. In retrospect, it was a naive thought, but I was young. That motivated me to study hard and excel academically. I worked hard in researches and volunteers to excel in job hunting. Thankfully, I landed a job at a top company. If she hadn't broken up with me, I might have just coasted through college. If that had been the case, I wouldn't be who I am today. In that sense, I'm grateful to her. The habit of working hard in college greatly helped in my job. I got involved in many areas at work, which was recognized, and I was chosen for a major project to launch a subsidiary. Being entrusted with a significant responsibility at a young age was genuinely exciting for me. It took about 4 years to get the startup off the ground and into operation, and I was involved in all of it. There were many challenges and a mountain of work to do. But I never gave up. My efforts were recognized, and I was asked to be a part of launching the next subsidiary. And then another one after that. In total, I was involved in launching 3 subsidiaries, a feat unique to me within the company. And then, after a long time, I was called back to the headquarters. It had been a full decade since I last worked at the main office. In those 10 years, the atmosphere at the headquarters had changed significantly. The entrance, which used to have a rugged and cold feel, was now stylishly designed with indoor plants, tall designer tables, and a lounge area with bright-colored sofas and indirect lighting on the walls. There was even a stylish air purifier, seemingly too small for the spacious entrance, but perhaps that was the point. The whole place had a much softer vibe than when I was last here. It had certainly become quite impressive. When I reported my arrival at the reception, I was told it would take some time to prepare. I asked if I could walk around the office while waiting, and they lent me a guest security card. So, I decided to take a stroll around the office. They even had a refresh room set up. I had heard that the company had significantly improved its employee benefits, and it felt like they had made it a more comfortable place to work, considering the mental well-being of the staff. I wished we had these facilities back when I was working at the headquarters. I used the security card I got from reception to enter the refresh room. Inside, there were comfortable sofas, counters facing the windows, a free coffee machine, and a vending machine. It was a lot more convenient than having to go outside the company to buy drinks, as I had to do in the past. The vending machine was well stocked with snacks and drinks. There was even a magazine corner, which seemed like a perfect spot to take a lunch break and truly refresh. I remembered eating sandwich I made by myself at my desk and felt a twinge of regret. As I was about to head back to the entrance, I came across a couple of employees flirting in the hallway. They both seemed younger than me. I remembered how busy we used to be. There was no time for such things during my time. A little chatting was fine, but their level of flirting was excessive. Even if they were close, they should know to separate personal from professional behavior. Ignoring this could negatively impact the company culture. Thinking this, I decided to approach them and gently remind them of proper office conduct. As I approached, they noticed me and looked my way. The man was a stranger to me, but the woman seemed familiar. Huh. I couldn't place her immediately, but when she spoke, I remembered.
John.
Yes, it was Ashley, my high school sweetheart. Ah, Ashley. The memory of that terrible graduation day came flooding back. I used to be really into her, but strangely, I didn't feel any romantic emotions anymore. Why are you here?
Why? I've been working at this company for 2 years now.
She had dyed her hair brown and her makeup was a bit heavy, with sparkly glitter around her eyes. I hadn't seen anyone else at the company with such a bold look. Despite my confusion, she was right there, so I just had to accept it. She introduced me to the man next to her.
Oh, this guy was a senior in high school who did everything I asked. I only dated him for a little while because he wasn't really rich, so our dates were kind of boring.
Really? He does give off that vibe. I can't believe you dated him.
The man scoffed at me.
Right? I just agreed because he was so desperate. He was good for errands, but that's about it.
Ah, Ashley, you don't have to say that.
Excuse me? Can you not call me Ashley? I'd prefer if you called me Ms. Johnson, even if we knew each other in the past.
She then dramatically hugged the man's arm.
This is my current boyfriend, Ryan Miller. He's an elite, unlike you. He's even the next CEO.
She turned to him with a big smile.
Yeah, well, some people are just meant to be, you know.
He smiled back at her, both of them grinning foolishly. Ah, keep that for outside the company, would you? I thought, even as I was appalled by the scene. She was clearly trying to create their own little world, talking sweetly to him.
That party was our fate, wasn't it? And you even got me a job at this top-tier company so we could be together forever. I'm so lucky.
I couldn't help but let out a big sigh. Seeming to annoy her, she suddenly turned serious and faced me.
Breaking up with you was the right choice. By the way, what are you doing here? Outsiders should wait at the entrance.
No, actually, I work here too.
What? No way. Someone like you couldn't possibly work at a top company like this. You can stop pretending. I can see it. That wrinkled suit of yours tells that you work for a mediocre company. Anyway, since you're the new face around here, go get some coffee from the refresh room. 2 for me and my boyfriend. You can afford that, right?
What?
You're the kind of person who's meant to be used. Hurry up and go.
She yelled hysterically. By now, other people were glancing our way. No need to make a bigger scene. All right, 2 cups of coffee, right?
Yes, go on. I might even date you again. You'd be super handy as a bag carrier and errand boy.
Ignoring her mocking tone, I headed to the refresh room. Let's see, 2 cups of coffee. I took out some change from my wallet. There were so many types of coffee. I guess any will do. I grabbed the coffees just as someone called out to me.
Mr. Smith, I've been looking for you.
It was the secretary. With her short black hair and neatly structured face. A picture of a competent secretary even with her modest makeup. She remembered me even though we had met only once. I checked my watch and realized quite some time had passed. I explained I needed to deliver the coffees first, then return to where I had left them. They were still there, flirting as before. Seeing me with the secretary, she laughed.
Oh, you got lost? Needed someone to show you the way, huh?
The secretary looked at her, surprised, and asked me.
Are these the 2 you were getting coffee for?
Yeah, they said they were thirsty. Ashley nodded, looking pleased somehow.
That's right. I asked him to run a little errand for us, for me and my boyfriend, the future CEO. We were just about to leave because he was taking so long, right, Ryan?
The secretary tilted her head, confused.
Future CEO? You mean 4?
Yes. You must know Ryan's dad is the CEO. That means I'll be the next CEO's wife.
The secretary crossed her arms, looking intently at her.
Actually, Mr. Smith here is the future CEO.
I thought so too, but apparently, they were unaware.
What? How? He's not related to the CEO.
No. As the CEO's secretary, I know that Mr. Smith is the designated future CEO.
The secretary and Ashley stood in a silent face-off. I hurried to intervene. Hold on. There seems to be some misunderstanding. Let me explain. I detailed the situation to them. The project I was handling, the launch of a subsidiary, was supposed to be handled by Ryan, the CEO's son. It's an experience deemed necessary to become the CEO of this company. However, he vehemently refused.
Go to some regional subsidiaries launch? No way. I have things I want to do here. Just let some underling handle it.
The CEO tried to persuade his son, but it was no use. Ryan said he had other things he wanted to do. Regardless of father's trust, he spent every night partying. It was common for him to miss work due to hangovers. Although he was young and given some leeway at first, he didn't participate in the second startup either. I was supposed to return to the headquarters by then, but the CEO personally asked me to take over.
My son refuses to go, so I'm asking you. You might want to come back to the headquarters, but you have the experience. Please lead the startup.
So, I ended up handling the tough task of launching another subsidiary. When that was on track, the CEO consulted me again.
After this launch, we'll start another company. If my son doesn't participate, just be prepared.
Prepared for what?
In case my son isn't fit to be the next CEO, I might approach you.
I was genuinely shocked. First of all, I was still too young to be a CEO. But after hearing the CEO out, I understood. It wasn't about becoming CEO immediately after the launch. I'd return to the headquarters, hone my skills, and build up my abilities. Participating in these subsidiary launches was a minimum requirement for the CEO. And so, I went on to lead the third launch. As expected, the son didn't participate. Worse, he forced his girlfriend to join the company. His reputation plummeted, and everyone at the company was worried about the future. Eventually, the CEO gave up on his son. After the third launch was completely finished, I officially received my appointment to work at the headquarters as the next CEO. Even after I carefully explained everything, Ryan was not convinced. He glared at me as if I were the bad guy.
Just because you launched a few subsidiaries doesn't mean you're fit to be the next CEO. I am the legitimate heir with the CEO's blood in my veins. You can't just waltz in and act all high and mighty because you worked a bit harder.
A bit harder. After all the hard work I put in 3 times over. He doesn't even know what effort means. Frustrated, I confronted him. So, what have you done for the company, or to take over from your father?
It doesn't matter. As the CEO's son, I'm the next CEO.
Ignoring Ryan's angry shouts, the secretary whispered to me.
Mr. Smith, let's go.
She was right. This ridiculous farce wasn't worth our time. I have other things to attend to, I said, attempting to leave, but Ryan grabbed my arm.
Wait! This isn't over. You can't be CEO.
No, take this up with your father. We have to go. The coffee errand is done.
What the?
Ryan raised his arm in anger. You should stop. This isn't going to end well. I gestured down the hallway with my chin. People had gathered around, hearing the shouting. Some even had their phones out, recording. Seeing this, Ryan didn't have the guts to hit me and, frustrated, he lowered his raised arm. Leaving Ryan standing there, I walked through the crowd. That's when Ashley ran up to me, calling out.
Wait, John.
She closed the distance between us with the momentum of her run.
John, I had no idea you were so hot. Hey, how about we get back together? It's fate that we met again here.
Get back together. How long has it been? While feeling disgusted at her puppy dog eyes, I gently pushed her away. Sorry, I did like you once, but I want to be with someone who's beautiful inside, not just on the outside. After saying that, I turned and headed towards the CEO's office. They had caused me quite a delay. Later, I learned that Ryan had resigned of his own accord. It was clear that he had been embezzling company funds to fund his lifestyle. Normally, this would warrant dismissal and possibly legal action, but his father showed him some final kindness. Despite protesting to his father, the CEO sternly asked him,
Do you want to be a criminal?
And Ryan, crying, submitted his resignation. As for Ashley, she left the company too, following Ryan. It wasn't surprising. She was hired only because of Ryan and couldn't really work, and everyone had been fed up with her. She left the company quietly, without a single farewell from anyone. Rumor has it, she was dumped by Ryan and now lives alone in a cheap apartment. It seems like the karma had finally caught up to her. Years later, while I was still honing my skills as the future CEO, I had a shocking encounter. Returning to the subsidiary after a long time, I was abruptly greeted in the hallway.
Mr. Smith!
Turning around, I saw Ryan. Feeling awkward, I led him to an empty conference room as he seemed concerned about being seen.
Good, no one saw us.
Thinking he was about to do something bad. But then, he apologized.
I'm sorry about back then.
I was taken aback. Apparently, he had hidden his identity and joined the subsidiary. He had panicked upon seeing me, worried I would reveal who he was. Initially, he felt unfairly treated about the past events, but experiencing other jobs made him realize his own incompetence. He felt ashamed of having made no effort. Deciding to join the subsidiary was his way of making a commitment. Life is unpredictable. Even so, I must continue to strive for the future I want. Being diligent. It is essential for a better future. Getting sidetracked, falling into decline, stumbling. When you lose sight of your future, it's how you recover that matters. It's your past self that helps you get back on track. That's why I'm grateful for everything happening now. Past experiences nourish my future.
I'm sorry for leaving without saying anything,
said Emily, forcing a smile. When I joined the company as a fresh graduate, Emily Garcia, my direct supervisor, was the first to treat me kindly. Being the biggest underachiever in a family of overachievers, I naturally made numerous mistakes at work and was looked down upon by my peers. Despite that, she always treated me kindly, just like everyone else, and I gradually developed feelings for her. However, one day, she suddenly quit the company. I wondered what had happened. I always had a lingering sense of unease, but one day, by chance, I ran into her at a hospital. What? Why are you here? Then, she revealed a brutally harsh truth, which was too much to be called just an obstacle. My name is Eric Miller. I have an older brother, 3 years older than myself, named Tom. Unlike me, Tom is different in every way. He has a well-proportioned face, always receiving adoring looks from girls. He's also academically brilliant and athletically gifted. I often felt envious and resigned, wondering why fate granted him so many gifts. He fully utilized his talents and is now a doctor at a prestigious university hospital. With such an outstanding brother, one would think I'd excel in at least one thing, but unfortunately, that was not the case. I once caused a commotion during gym class by losing my balance on the balance beam while trying to attract attention. An ambulance was called for me. I also mistakenly focused on the wrong study topics the night before a midterm, resulting in a record-breaking score of 0 for my grade. It was nothing short of a miracle that I managed to graduate from a third-rate local university after a year of desperate studying. Both of my parents graduated from top universities. My father is an executive at a major corporation, and my mother is a high-powered career woman managing a team of 30 at a consulting firm. As the only one filled with a sense of inferiority in such a talented family, I must have seemed like an anomaly. While my parents treated Tom normally, they handled me with kid gloves. I wanted to leave home as soon as possible, but without the means to live on my own, I spent my days in monotonous repetition.
Good job, Eric.
Oh, thank you. She would always talk kindly to me as I frantically typed away at my computer. Her white teeth are dazzling every time she smiles. Her name is Emily Garcia. I initially thought she was younger than me because of her youthful appearance, but she was actually close to my age and my direct supervisor. It goes back to several years ago when I had just joined the company. As an inexperienced newcomer, my inadequacies were even more pronounced. Naturally, I was ridiculed by my peers, and the gap in our abilities only widened.
Eric, how many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry.
That's why you could only graduate from a so-so university, huh?
Back then, my boss would often say things to me that would now be considered compliance violations. Oh my goodness. Why can't I do anything right? During a brief break, I was feeling down in the break room when Emily came in and said,
Good job.
"Oh, thank you."
Are you okay?
Yes, I guess, somehow.
You've been scolded again, right?
Well, yes.
You can't take everything they say seriously. You have to let some of it slide.
No, but I'm really not good at anything, so I am to be blamed.
You're not a failure, Eric.
Emily.
Here, drink this and get back to work.
Saying that, she pressed a frosty can of soda drink against my cheek. I took the can she pushed towards me. Thank you. I was confused by the sudden gesture, but secretly pleased. After that, she never yelled at me or rushed me while I struggled with my computer work. She patiently taught me over and over again, combining firmness and kindness as a supervisor. With her personality, she was respected by everyone, even the executives. Her cuteness like a small animal and her beauty would win any man's admiration at least once. Naturally, I was one of them, and as I worked under her, my feelings for her grew bit by bit. Recalling all this, I felt pathetic for not having grown at all since then. But her words snapped me back to reality.
You'll work yourself out if you keep pushing yourself like this.
But I'm not done yet.
This task isn't urgent. Go home early today.
It was long past the regular hours, and there were only a couple of us left in the office. It was Friday, and my colleagues were probably out enjoying their time with friends, but that wasn't for me. So, I stayed to finish my work, unwillingly working overtime. But I'm slow and still have work left. Emily cut me off, leaning in close to my face.
If you collapse, it'll be trouble for me.
She said seriously, but her eyes seemed slightly unfocused. Looking closer, her round face seemed a bit thinner.
Eric, don't push yourself just because you're young. Take care of yourself.
Okay, I understand. Thus, she forcibly turned down my computer, nudging me to grab my bag, and I left the office with a heavy heart. Our company primarily leases printers and multifunction devices, and while the overall workload isn't too heavy, it gets busy with equipment replacements. Especially towards the end of the fiscal year. It was around then that Emily started taking more sick days. I would see her working early in the morning, but she often left before the morning meeting. Her presence at the company gradually decreased, and it eventually became normal not to see her. She wasn't even mentioned anymore. What happened to her? I wanted to ask someone, but I didn't have close colleagues. My concern for her grew day by day, but work kept coming relentlessly. And then, she quit the company. I felt a big void in my heart. Would I never see her kind smile again? Under a new, more strict supervisor, I became a person who just mechanically did what needed to be done. Carrying a sense of emptiness, several seasons passed, and years went by. One day, as I was getting ready, my mother spoke to me, which she rarely did.
Hey, I have a favor to ask.
Seeing her apologetic look, I felt nervous even though I hadn't done anything wrong. What is it?
Could you deliver this to Tom? I could do it myself, but I have an early meeting tomorrow.
She handed me a large envelope. Tom is my brother. Sure, I'll take it to his hospital.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Seeing my mother thanking me formally made me feel somewhat uncomfortable, but I just smiled without saying anything. Wow, Tom really works at an impressive place. I couldn't help but murmur to myself, looking up at the grand hospital where he worked.
Eric.
When I asked the receptionist for Tom, it seemed they were already informed, and soon he appeared. Looking sharp in his long white coat. You were busy, weren't you, Tom?
Nah, it was important paperwork, so you really helped me out. But Mom sure knows how to use people. Huh?
He laughed as he took the envelope. I've always tensed up just being near him, it's not a new feeling.
Eric, you don't have to be so stiff. I'm not going to.
I should get going. Have a good day at work. With what must have been a forced smile, I left in a hurry. Man, just being around him makes me tense. As I massaged my neck and walked towards the hospital entrance, I realized I was wandering back and forth through unfamiliar parts of the building. Where am I? Nurses seemed too busy to approach. I never thought I'd get lost as an adult, but feeling embarrassed, I continued walking, trying not to look suspicious. Just being here makes me feel sick. Wishing for a place to sit, I aimlessly wandered until I saw a familiar face. Is that you?
Oh, Eric.
Why are you here? Emily staggered, leaning against the wall in surprise. I came to deliver something my brother forgot. But Emily, what are you doing here? Her complexion looked even worse. Her once cute round face now gaunt, dark circles under her eyes prominent.
I'm sorry for leaving without saying anything.
She said, forcing a smile. No, that's fine. I didn't know you were hospitalized.
It's nothing serious, just overworked a bit. I'm such a bad colleague, telling everyone not to overwork, yet here I am, unable to manage myself. It's embarrassing.
Are you sure it's nothing serious? You look quite thin. But she just smiled, dodging the question.
What about you, Eric?
I was just delivering something to my brother. He's a doctor here.
Your brother?
She looked surprised and blinked repeatedly.
Is your brother?
I was so shocked by her next words that I couldn't respond. Tom, she's seriously ill, isn't she?
Eric.
During lunch break, Tom was listening to my story while eating. I knew he was busy, but I needed to know about her condition. After learning that Tom was her doctor, I couldn't stay still.
But I didn't know that she actually worked at the same company as you. It's such a coincidence.
I was surprised too. So, can you tell me about Emily's condition?
I can't do that. You understand, right?
Yeah. Doctors have a duty to protect patients' confidentiality. It was impossible for Tom, as an outsider, to blab about a patient's personal information to me. I felt frustrated. It felt so inadequate to just stand by, unable to do anything but hope for her to get better.
Eric, you.
Tom looked at me as if he couldn't believe it.
I understand you want to help her. But as a doctor, I have patients' lives in my hands, based on a relationship of trust. I can't cross that line.
After being firmly told that by him, I knew I couldn't pry any further. Then he said something unexpected.
Eric, maybe there's something you can do, precisely because it's you?
Me?
I can treat her illness as a doctor, but that's all. People become vulnerable when they are sick. But it's during such times that having someone's support means so much to a patient.
Tom.
For her, tough days will continue. So Eric, if you care about her that much, support her in your own way.
He spoke these words not just as a doctor, but as a brother, looking at me straight in the eye. Okay. From then on, I visited her every day as much as time allowed. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
Good. I'm feeling much better today.
That's great to hear. Here, I brought this for you.
Wow, thank you. Flowers really make a difference.
I'll put them in the vase, I said, taking the vase to the wash basin. At first, she seemed puzzled by my visits, but as we talked about trivial things and reminisced about our time working together, she began to smile more. These moments became invaluable to me. I wanted to spend as much time with her as possible. Consequently, I started managing my work more efficiently so I can leave on time. I've finally started getting more responsibilities at work.
That just means you're becoming more reliable.
Emily chuckled softly. But my peers are all moving up, and I'm the only one without a title yet. I've accepted it, though, since I'm just not someone who succeeds much.
Getting promoted doesn't necessarily make you a better person. It just brings more responsibility and stress.
As she spoke, looking distant, I could sense the immense pressure she must have felt.
Eric, you're such a kind person. Don't let people take advantage of you like I did.
Emily. She laughed as if she was joking, seemingly brighter than when we first reunited. But her arm, hooked up to the drip, was significantly thinner, and her body seemed frilier. She never spoke about her illness, but even I, a person of no medical knowledge, could tell it was serious. I wondered what she thought about my visits. As we spent more time together, our bond seemed to grow closer. Something happened one day, after I had become accustomed to visiting her after work. After a particularly busy day due to equipment issues at a client's site, I managed to get to the hospital just in time for visiting hours. Sorry I'm late. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Emily usually greets me with a smile, but today her expression is clearly gloomy. Is something wrong? Did something happen?
Eric.
Yes.
I don't want you to come here anymore.
What? It felt like the whole world became dark suddenly. She continued, looking down.
I've come to terms in many ways. I've long since let go of my attachments.
What are you talking about?
There's something I've been hiding from you.
Hiding?
I don't have much longer to live.
What? As she looked up, a tear rolled down her cheek. You're joking.
This is no joke.
But you were happily telling me how you're starting to eat a bit more lately.
I didn't want to worry you.
You can depend on me more.
I want you to have a new future, Eric.
Emily.
The doctor told me. My condition is more serious than originally thought, and even if I have surgery, the success rate is very low.
Saying so, she looked down, defeated. But there's still a chance of success, right?
It's probably not possible. Even the doctors have said so.
I won't give up.
Eric.
I couldn't lose these precious moments with her. I had always thought my life was dull, but since reuniting with her and spending time with her, I found a reason to live. Because you're here, I can work hard. I want you to be in my future.
Me?
I love you.
What?
I finally confessed my feelings, which I had held back for so long. I've liked you from the time we were working together. When you suddenly left, it felt like there was a hole in my heart. When I reunited with you here, I swore to do anything for you. I don't want you to disappear from my life again.
But
My heart overflowed with feelings I had kept inside for so long. She tried to speak but only managed to sob. Am I really that unreliable? She didn't respond, just covered her face. I put my hand on her shoulder gently, and then left the room with a firm resolution in my heart.
It's rare for you to call me.
The hospital was as busy as ever, filled with the smell of medicine and the stuffy air. Tom, prompted by my call, joined me on the rooftop. I had contacted him on a whim, hoping to talk, and to my surprise, he agreed readily. In all my life, I had never had a long conversation with the two of us alone. We had never really talked in depth before, as I always felt inferior to him. Taking a deep breath, I started. Sorry for contacting you out of blue. Today, I have a request not just for you, but for Dr. Miller, as Emily's primary doctor.
Oh, okay.
He seemed taken aback by my earnestness. This is a once-in-a-lifetime request. Please, please ensure her surgery is successful. I'm begging you."
Eric,
Before his quiet murmur, I begged desperately. Silence lingered for a while. How much time had passed?
this the first time, isn't it?
Huh. Surprised by his unexpected words, I involuntarily raised my voice.
I never imagined you'd ask me for a favor. You've changed, Eric.
Tom. Then straightening his lab coat with both hands, he said,
Of course. I would do everything in my power for Emily, even without being asked. As a doctor, it's my duty to devote myself to the patients.
With his refreshing smile, he always looked impressive, even to me as his younger brother. "You're amazing, Tom."
Not at all. You're doing something even more incredible.
"Me?"
When she was first admitted, Emily seemed completely hopeless, as if she had lost all will to live. Even as we discussed treatment plans, her mind seemed elsewhere. It's often said that illness starts in the mind. Despite medication, her condition only seemed to worsen.
Looking far off into the distance, he began to talk about her situation.
But ever since you started visiting her, she began to change. She'd smile during my rounds, and gradually became more positive about her treatment.
"Is that so? Then why did she say she didn't want me to visit anymore?"
Unfortunately, her illness isn't something that can be completely cured. Tough treatment lies ahead, and she'll likely have to live with this disease for life. She probably doesn't want to drag you into her life.
"But,"
You have to support her in your own way.
Tom said, looking directly at me.
She's fighting hard, saying she'll try treatment. Giving her the will to live is something only you can do.
I nodded firmly. Even though she had said she didn't want me to visit, I couldn't just accept that and stay away. The next day, I visited her as if nothing happened.
I told you not to come anymore.
But I pretended not to hear and continued as usual. "It's a nice day today, isn't it?
Yeah.
If there's anything you want to eat, I'll get it for you. How about sweets? Sweets at the nearby pastry are really good lately." "Oh, but too much oil isn't good, is it? Still, when you're with someone special, you tend to finish them before you know it."
Eric.
I saw on TV that a new theme park opened, and their roller coasters are intense. You like roller coasters, right? I'd love to go there with you once you're better.
That would be.
And there's more. We can go to Disneyland, see your favorite boy band's concert, even catch a comedy show. You wanted to do all that, remember?
What are you talking about?
Emily, I truly love you. I want to spend as many happy moments with you as possible, and I want to create those moments.
That's just wishful thinking.
I won't let it end as a wish. I can't let your life end here.
It would not be a dream?
Will you have the surgery? As expected, her expression clouded over. I'm scared. But losing you scares me even more.
How can you say that?
So, I want to talk more about our future after your successful surgery.
What if it doesn't work out?
I don't want to think about that. Silence followed. She hesitantly began after a while.
I want to go to an all-you-can-eat sweets restaurant and have as many cream puffs as I like.
Saying that, she flashed that gentle smile of hers. Her smile made me smile too. As for me, her eyes regained their sparkle. Surely, everything would be okay. Then came the day of the surgery. She lay on the bed, a slight tension evident in her demeanor. Holding her hand, I said, "I'm sure it'll be fine." She nodded at my words. Soon, it was time, and the bed carrying her was swiftly taken into the operating room. As Tom had said, this surgery was incomparably more difficult than any before. For what felt like eternity, I sat on a bench, praying fervently. The clock hands went around countless times, and finally, the light indicating surgery in progress turned off. Right out of the surgery, Tom came to me.
She did well. The surgery was a success.
Hearing it, my pent-up emotions loosened, and I cried. Thank you, truly, thank you. Clinging to him, I kept repeating my gratitude. Emily woke up, perhaps from the anesthesia wearing off. Good morning. The surgery was successful.
Really?
I nodded firmly.
Oh, that's a relief.
She seemed to release a sigh of burden, her face showing complete relief.
Awake?
Oh, doctor.
Tom entered the room, his lab coat fluttering. She hurriedly tried to sit up.
Don't rush.
Stepping outside for a moment as he checked her condition, I heard him say,
Here, you look good. Your color is back.
Doctor, thank you so much for everything.
No, I just did my job as a doctor. You should thank him.
Tom gestured towards me.
Eric?
She looked at me, surprised. Tom continued.
I did what any doctor would do. The real reason for this success is that he's been supporting you wholeheartedly. That's what I believe.
Standing upright, he said.
Emily, he may not be the most skilled person, but he's the kindest at heart. And he's an invaluable brother to me. Please, I ask you to take good care of my brother, Eric.
He finished his words. She smiled and said,
Yes, I'm looking forward to it too.
I couldn't believe it. The scene I had dreamed of was beyond my imagination.
Thank you, Eric.
When she raised her face, her eyes shone brighter than ever. How are you feeling today?
Good, I think.
That's great. But remember, don't push yourself too hard.
I know.
Despite the difficulty of her recent surgery, she showed a remarkable recovery, astonishing everyone by being discharged just about 10 days later. Of course, I was always there by her side. And today, we were finally heading to that place we've wanted to go for so long. To make the journey as easy as possible for her, still recovering, I arranged a rental car and planned our route together using a map. How many times had I dreamed of this moment? It still felt unbelievable.
Eric, are you ready?
Yeah, all set. Hey, aren't you wearing your ears a bit early?
I'm just too excited. I couldn't wait.
Well, can't help it then. Slowly starting the car, we set off to Disneyland we had longed to visit. The cloudless blue sky visible through the car window seemed to stretch endlessly, reflecting our bright future ahead. Growing up, I had always thought I had nothing to be proud of. I never knew that my existence could become someone's reason to live. I was tired of the repetitive days, almost giving up on life, but she was always there, kind and reaching out to me. For the first time, I felt the warmth of another person and wanted to live for her. I want to cherish the ordinary days we can now spend together, walking side by side with her into the future.